Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing one of the topic that is city creation, and in this basically we are talking about user controls. One of the person basically asked the question basically in comments. Sunil, basically, have you got the job basically? So Sunil and I told that no basically. So that person basically told that yeah, basically the person basically who is having good knowledge, good software skills, that also basically can manage the entire software company. He can basically become the director. He can become senior managers. He can play any types of roles basically, and he basically is good for software also, and he is basically good into software management also. Then also basically one person told that he is not getting the job, so there might be some problem basically in India only basically. Indian country basically are like that only basically. One of the person told that also basically. So there might be some reason basically behind this, that India basically always ignores the people basically. The people who knows everything, they are basically getting ignored basically. That's why people basically are leaving India. So one of the person to the what is the base of India, that is Reliance Group basically and Adani basically. So these two groups are creating problem to India, or basically these groups are telling that basically we will not allow anyone, any talent to go up. So that what might be the problem basically. Otherwise basically, why Sunil or Nair is not getting the job basically. So one of the person told that the software company, uh, the software company like TCS, Infosys, Deloitte, Accenture, if they will also read this book, basically they will immediately basically will give the job to Sunil Nair. But here the question is, nothing is basically going with Sunil Nair. So one of the person told that there might be some legal problem basically. So you might not be eligible for India or legally working in India basically. So one of the person that legally means what basically? Legally means you have any case ongoing in the court. Then no, basically there was no court basically. There was one divorce case basically which has already finished. Then basically what is the problem basically? Then one of the person told that I will do one thing. I will scan the entire courts basically, each and every high court, supreme court cases. Whether is there any case basically ongoing of yours basically, because that only basically might be the problem basically, because legally basically there is some problem basically ongoing. And one of the person told that instead of doing everything basically you leave India basically, that is basically the best thing. But how basically to leave India, because in USA basically it's everywhere basically Indian groups ki dadagiri. So you will not get job also basically, because in India also if India in India only basically you are not getting the job, then how basically outside India basically you will get the job. That also basically one of the person told that. So that's basically correct. Yeah, basically you must basically having good knowledge also. Technical skill is also good. Technical skill is also basically good. The one of the best example is if conditions, else conditions, while loop, for loop. That basically is connecting up to the what level basically that we have already saw in the previous video. And we saw that also basically that how the military army group basically uses just simple if conditions also basically. That means in army group basically if condition is also playing very dangerous role basically. One if condition basically truncated from the power supply, and then basically the data get processed, the direction of the missile basically gets changed. For example, the direction of missile basically was supposed to dump in Afghanistan, it will dump to in India basically. So one of the person told that if in missile basically it's like that, then when we will go to ISRO, NASA group basically, how they might be doing everything basically. So there basically the if condition will change, then basically the direction of planet only basically will get changed basically, because just a simple if basically, but it's playing very dangerous role basically. Just a simple for loop basically, but it's playing very dangerous role. It seems to be very simple if conditions, But when it connects to the power supply, it becomes very dangerous. Basically. The missile direction gets changed. Missile basically direction gets changed basically. So you can just imagine basically, see this book basically. This is related to if condition for loop basically. That says lots of things basically. If anybody will purchase, if anybody will, for example, if any one of the banking person basically the directors or bank of CEO of bank, if he will convert this book into the some Harvard Oxford University wording basically, because this basically book contains very simple wording basic, somewhere basically the spelling mistakes are also there, but when you correct this book basically into some Harvard and Oxford language basically, it connects to the award winning book basically. So one of the person from satellite told that, are you basically supplying awards from this book basically? One of the person basically suddenly connected from plane basically, and he told that basically, are you basically spreading the awards basically from this book? Because from this book basically, the bank's director will get the best award basically. The software company owner basically will get the best award basically in IT industry basically across the world basically. That type of basically things are basically written here. If doctor will basically read this book, he will become the one of the best doctor in the world basically. But the wordings basically are very simple. So that's why basically people might not like this simple wording basically. That is basically called आम आदमी का wording basically. That is called simple wording basically. That people will not like. Why? Because they like Harvard, Oxford University words basically. The people who speaks Harvard English, Oxford English basically. That in only English basically works in this world. But this books basically is, if any Harvard professor basically will read this book and he will convert this normal English to hi-fi English basically, he will get the award. But this book basically, if you will represent in front of the world basically, they will say, "अरे ये क्या लिखा है यार? It's a very simple English basically." So that type of basically things basically comes. But this books basically is very dangerous. Then also basically Sunil Nair basically is not getting the job. That means there is some problem basically in India only. In India country only basically there is some problem. So one of the person told that it might possible that where basically you are staying in local city basically, there only basically the problem is there basically. So one of the person told that there are many options basically. One option is leave India basically. That is the best option basically. And that option basically was supposed to implement long before basically. This was actually supposed to implement by your colleges basically, where you basically had done the study. Your teachers basically were supposed to do the plan, but they have not done the plan. Why? Because they have taken money from the other side basically. The other side group basically given the money and told that basically finish Sunil R. Nair career. Like this teacher only finished Sunil R. Nair career basically. So that type of world is that type of things basically is happening in India basically. So one of the person to India is going at which direction basically? Because if teachers are not supporting students basically, then how the things will work basically? This book basically contains very dangerous thing basically. That also basically award winning topics basically are in this book. The automobile industry will read this book and basically print his book, his own book basically on the changes of few wordings basically. He will get the best award. He might get the national award basically. So another person told that in Syria also basically same thing was happened. Entire Syria basically has become one. Their entire Syria basically got ended. Here same thing is happening in India also. The entire India basically each and every cities become one basically. So one of the person told me what is the solution of this basically. So in next video basically we are going to see that solution basically of Sunil R. Nair basically not getting the job.